Welcome to True Life Lessons, where we explore the hidden strengths within us all, unlocking potential you never knew existed. Confidence is not just a trait, it is the silent language that speaks before you even say a single word. Today we tell the story of a young man who lost everything because he could not find his own voice. Living in the shadow of his strict father, he was constantly criticized for being too soft and unable to stand up. He dreamed of a different life, but his fear was a heavy chain that kept him bound to the floor. People often sense weakness like sharks sense blood, and unfortunately this young man wore his insecurity like a bright neon sign. He saw them taking the expensive items, but his throat felt tight, and the words he needed simply would not come. The thieves walked away with a smirk, knowing that his silence was their permission to rob him of his dignity. When his father discovered the loss, the silence of the shop was shattered by a rage that shook the walls. Driven by disappointment, the father cast him out, telling him he was useless and could not protect their livelihood. With no home to return to and no belief in himself, he walked into the cold night, feeling completely broken. He looked at his reflection in the puddles and saw only a failure, a person who did not deserve to exist. The river called to him with a dark promise of peace, a way to end the constant noise of his failure. He stood on the edge, ready to let the water take him, believing the world would be better off without him. Suddenly a strong hand pulled him back from the abyss, and a wise voice asked him what he was doing. The old sage did not pity him, but instead looked deep into his soul, seeing the potential buried under the fear. He poured out his heart, explaining how his fear had cost him his home, his family, and his self-respect. The wise man offered him a deal: "Give me 3 days of your life and I will teach you how to live." He proposed 3 challenges that would break the shell of fear the boy had built around himself for so many years. With the morning sun rising, the young man decided to choose life and accepted the path of transformation laid before him. Day 1 began with a simple yet terrifying task. He had to speak to 10 strangers and hold a conversation. His first attempt was a failure. His voice cracked and the stranger walked away, leaving him feeling foolish and small. But he remembered the river and realized that the pain of rejection was far less than the pain of regret. He tried again, asking a simple question, and was shocked when the man answered him with a polite and normal smile. With each interaction, the heavy weight on his chest began to lift, replaced by a strange new feeling of connection. He realized that people were not monsters waiting to judge him, but simply humans living their own lives, just like him. He returned to the sage at sunset, exhausted but exhilarated, having discovered that his voice had the power to connect. The second challenge was harder. He had to gather a group of children and teach them a lesson about water. Standing before the chaotic energy of children, he felt nervous, knowing that kids are the most honest critics of all. He raised his voice, not in anger but in excitement, inviting them to join him in a discovery of wonder. As they gathered around, he felt a surge of leadership, realizing that confidence is simply the act of sharing value. He spoke of how water is soft but can cut through rock, teaching them that gentleness can also be a strength. When they laughed with him, not at him, he understood that he could influence others and bring joy to a crowd. The applause of the children was a melody he had never heard, affirming that he was capable of leading and teaching. The sage smiled and told him that he was ready for the final and most difficult test of his journey. Day 3 brought him back to the source of his pain, standing before the door he had been kicked out of. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to run away, to avoid the conflict and the pain of the past. But he remembered the strangers and the children, reminding himself that he had changed and was no longer that weak boy. He pushed the door open, the bell chiming a signal of his return, and met his father's surprised and angry gaze. Before his father could speak, the young man stood tall, his posture reflecting a new strength that silenced the room. He apologized sincerely, not with his head down in shame, but with his eyes fixed firmly on his father's face. The father was stunned into silence, seeing a stranger standing before him instead of the timid boy he once knew. He spoke of his plans to rebuild what was lost, his voice steady and filled with a conviction that demanded respect. Slowly, the anger in the father's eyes faded, replaced by a dawning realization that his son had finally become a man. With a simple nod, the father accepted him back, not out of pity, but out of a newfound respect for him. In the weeks that followed, the shop transformed as the young man applied his new skills with passion and energy. Customers flocked to the store, drawn not just by the goods but by the vibrant spirit of the young owner. The rift between father and son healed, bridged by the solid foundation of trust and mutual respect they had built. Years passed, and the small grocery store grew into an empire, mirroring the growth of the man who led it. He became a beacon of hope for others, teaching them that confidence is the key that unlocks every door in life. Looking back, he realized that the boy by the river was not weak. He was just waiting to be awakened. He told the crowd that the greatest enemy we face is never the world outside, but the fear within our minds. Remember that the world is a mirror. It reflects back to you exactly what you choose to project into it. If you see yourself as small, the world will treat you small. But if you stand tall, the world bows. Success is not just about luck or talent. It is about having the courage to show up and claim your space. He returned to the riverbank, not to end his life, but to give thanks for the second chance he was given. Gratitude filled his heart for the mentor who saw a spark in the ashes and helped him blow it into fire. Now he passes that torch to others, igniting the belief that anyone can change their destiny if they conquer their fear. Confidence is not a magical gift given to a chosen few. It is a muscle that must be exercised every day. You build it by doing the things you fear step by step until the fear loses its grip on you. It starts with a single act of courage, a small step outside your comfort zone that changes your entire trajectory. We must teach the next generation that their voice matters and that they have the right to be heard and respected. True strength is not about physical power, it is about the inner resolve to stand firm when everything tells you to fall. Look around you and see that every great achievement in history began with a person who believed in their own vision. Like an eagle soaring above the storm, you too can rise above your doubts and claim the sky as your own. So I ask you today, what is holding you back from becoming the person you were always meant to be? Step out of your comfort zone today, for that is where the magic of life truly begins to unfold for you. Just like a seed must break its shell to grow, you must break through your fears to reach the light. The world is waiting for you to show up, to share your unique gifts, and to make your mark on history. Do not let your fears write your story. Take the pen and write a masterpiece of courage, resilience, and success. Connect with others, lead with passion, and face your giants, for these are the pillars of a life truly lived. You have a power within you that is greater than any obstacle, any doubt, and any fear that blocks your path. Believe in yourself, for that is the first step towards a journey that will take you higher than you ever imagined. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and growth here at True Life Lessons channel today. Remember to subscribe for more inspiring stories that awaken the giant sleeping within you. Live bold, and live true.